Okay, I'm back. We got everything under control. I just washed all of the pots that the dumplings were made in. The dumplings are still chilling out right here. They're nice and covered and they are hot. You'll feel the heat when you put your hand on the top. They should be warm. I just got out my meat board or my carving board for the roast. The roast has about 20 minutes left. My husband right now is getting ready to make the pork gravy, and
I'm not going to make it right this second.
he said he's not going to make it right this second, but I told you the pork loin roast does not make a lot of, it doesn't make enough stuff to make gravy with. And unfortunately, that's usually what pork does, is pork does not make sufficient juice so that when you can you mix it with flour, it would taste good. It's totally different than a beef roast. Whereas the beef roast, you can use the drippings and make a good gravy. You can't do that with pork or this roast. But what you can do, I'm going to turn you guys around. You guys took a little trip with me into the dining room. Is I have one of these. And one of these is what you would call a fat strainer. And I use this a couple of times a year. I definitely use it at Thanksgiving. I use it for this recipe, but I also do use it when I make roast duck, because what it'll do is it'll separate the fat of the duck from the actual good juice. And I'm going to show you when I pull out the pork roast what we're going to do. It's going to make probably about this much juice, but just enough that if you don't want gravy, you can pour a little of that on your dumplings and your meat and keep it moist. You don't have to do that if that's not something you want to do. You totally don't have to. It's totally optional. So I had to turn down the sweet sour cabbage because it was really, really steaming.
You can keep it warm, I guess.
Huh? Oh. Husband's talking to me and he said
Talking to
keep it
myself,
warm.
actually.
Do you want me to turn your flame down? Because that's an awful high.
I want it to boil.
Oh, you want it to boil. Okay. He's going to go ahead and make the gravy. That part I'm really not going to show you because if you know how to read, the recipe is on the back of the packet. Just follow it step by step and it's self-explanatory. It's not a homemade gravy, so it doesn't take much. Everything you need is already in the package. You're just adding the water and the heat and following the directions. So I will be back in about 20 minutes to show you the final product of all three of our dishes. You have now learned how to make my grandmother's sweet sour cabbage. You now know how to make my dumplings, and you now know how to make the pork loin roast. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'm going to come back and show you the final product. Okay, all, welcome to the conclusion of the pork dumplings and sweet sour cabbage. I'm going to take the, I'm going to turn my oven off and I'm going to take the pork loin roast out of the oven. And it looks so good. Everything is now ready to serve. All you need to do is cut the roast. And I'm going to kind of show you guys that this is a beautiful roast. Like I said with the pork fat, if you're able to get the pork fat, and usually the only time I can get good pork fat is at a butcher. I very rarely will you find it at the supermarket. And nowadays what happens is when the grocery store chains get their pork loin roasts in, they're already trimmed of their fat. So if you have a butcher shop, ask them for extra fat. They'll gladly give it to you. Usually they won't charge you for it. Sometimes it'll be a charge, but it's not a significant charge. If you don't like the fat, take it off and discard it. But it does give your roast a little bit of extra flavor. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take my roast and put it on my cutting board. this in the sink so nobody gets burnt. And I'm going to show you the pan. You probably, and I'm not going to touch it because this came out of a 450 degree oven, but you can tell that there is not a lot of good drippings or good juice. That's just going to be liquid juice. If you tried to make gravy out of that, where you put flour in, what will happen is it will be absolutely tasteless. It'll be a watery, floury mess. So don't try to make gravy out of that. That's where this comes in handy. And I'll show you what this does in a few seconds. But let's carve our roast. And I'm going to move you guys down a little bit. Hopefully you guys will be able to see this. And I'll try to explain what happened. When my butcher chimed the bone, what he did is he tied it. And all you need to do is snip off the string. You don't want to have the string while you're trying to cut your roast. And you're going to discard that. That's not edible. So I need to find out where he chimed the bone. If he chimed it up or down. Okay, he cracked the bone, so you're going to lose a little bit of the meat. And actually, I hate when the butcher does that because it makes it next to impossible for me to do stuff. But I'm going to see if we can do this. Yeah, and let's see if I can. I can't get down on that bone. So he didn't crack this all that much, or I can't see where he cracked it. Bob, he did say he cracked this for me, right?
Huh?
I said he did say he cracked this, didn't he?
Well, that's why I took it back the second time.
He cracked it all right, but he cracked it in a different place. Okay. Always deal with a butcher that you know really well. You really need to have them remove this bone. I don't know. The problem is I don't know if I can get into it because of the way.
I thought he said he was going to crack it here, so.
He did, but the problem is when he cracked it in between. Which is not great when you're trying to cut these. You didn't crack that one or that one. You want to get the platter? Okay, I'm going to stop the video for a minute, figure this roast out. I'll show you it when it's done. Okay, sorry about that. I figured out what the butcher did. He did chime the bone. He chimed it in a way that I'm not used to it being chimed. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of fat on the plate. And like I said, this is very good crackling. If you don't like it, discard it. But this made very thick chops, as you can see. It is fully cooked. My husband had a question because it looked a little bit pink in the middle. That's just because it came out of the oven and all of the juices are still flowing through it. But at 2 hours, it is fully cooked. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to... He moved something on me. Where did he move it to?
What?
Oh, there it is. He moved my juice thing.
Oh, I moved it so it did not pop.
Okay, what we're going to do is I am going to hopefully not dump the lit cigarettes. We're going to just take our pork juice. And we're going to strain it. Get that off. And now, if you can kind of see this, I'm going to move it in close. It needs a little bit of time to settle, but all of the fat is at the top and all the good juices are at the bottom. So when you strain this out, it'll actually pour. And like I said, it makes a little bit of juice. If you don't want to make a packaged gravy, you don't have to. You can actually use this. It's not going to harm you, and it is going to be tasty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to serve up my dumplings. I'm going to actually put this on the table. I'm going to get my other serving dishes. And our dumplings are still hot. They're still nice and warm. I'm going to move this. I'm just going to uncover the dumplings and I'm going to just serve my dumplings. And they're still steaming, actually. And once your dumplings have fully cooled down, you can either freeze them and suck them up the next day if you have a food saver, or you can put them in a regular Ziploc bag in the refrigerator and heat them for the next day. When you reheat the dumplings, what you're going to do is you're just going to steam them. You're not going to boil them anymore. You're just going to put them in a steamer and steam them for about 10 minutes to heat them up. If you don't have a steamer, what you can do is make sure you put about a tablespoon of water in your Ziploc bag. Make sure your Ziploc bag is a little bit opened or has an opening to allow the steam to escape, and you can do them in the microwave for about 5 minutes. So my cabbage has fully cooked. I'm just going to put my cabbage in a serving dish. And my cabbage is piping hot. But that's all ready to go. Which one I'm going to come and grab my meat. And I'm going to grab my gravy boat. If you didn't make juice, if you only are using the juice, you can strain that juice and pour it into a gravy boat. But if you made gravy, reserve your gravy boat for the gravy. And this made a very nice amount of gravy. And I'm going to take you, my table is a little bit crowded tonight because I have some stuff that I bought earlier. But for Valentine's Day, that's our meal. We've got the sweet sour cabbage over here. We got the dumplings and our pork loin roast. And in Czech, I'm going to say Dobre hudnani, which is good eating. I wish you guys a good eating of a meal, and I wish you guys a very happy Valentine's Day. and a great evening. So tune in tomorrow for another fun-filled video of Cooking with Joel. I thought I'd come back really fast to show you the amount of time. You can see all of this on top now is the fat. The good juice is at the bottom. When you pour this out, I'm going to slowly pour. It's going to pour the good juice. You just want to stop when you get to the light juice. And that's just a tidbit from me to you on how to do liquid drippings from the pan.